If you use an iPhone, you're probably aware that it was made in China. Of course, you weren't born yesterday. But where exactly do they make it? An iPhone factory complex is located in Jiangsu, a city of about 9.5 million people in what's traditionally one of the country's poorest provinces, Henan. The factory is run by the Taiwanese electronics manufacturer Foxconn. It employs 350,000 people and produces about half of the world's iPhones. In the summer months before the fall release of a new iPhone, the factory has 500,000 phones a day. Just imagine that number, up to 350 iPhones a minute. As you can imagine, the atmosphere in the factory is insane. Today, we reveal all the secrets behind the biggest iPhone factory in the world. How much does one employee earn? And why do more and more employees commit suicide? Make sure to watch till the end to find out. Foxconn Factory is a local legend in Jiangsu. Although people are aware of the severe conditions on the job, thousands of job seekers queue at the factory today. There's no secret about it. They all hope to get a fat sign-on bonus as iPhone production season looms. To lure more job hunters, some hiring agencies have touted bonuses of up to 7,480 yuan for permanent hires at Foxconn's component production unit. That's about $1,108, or one median monthly salary in China. Foxconn's hiring spree comes ahead of the launch of Apple's iPhone 14, which is expected to be on sale in September. Workers' average day. Foxconn's Jiangsu factory only does the final assembly, testing, and packaging. That production stage requires about 400 steps to create the iPhone, and most workers do one task repeatedly all day. The people work in silence. Their faces are blank. Here's every worker's daily schedule. Wake up at 6:30 a.m., go to the factory at 7 a.m., eat breakfast, and start working at 8 a.m. Take an hour for lunch. Most workers eat at the canteen inside the campus and pay around 7 yuan for a meal, or $1.01. The shift ends at 5 p.m., but if overtime is offered, most will take it and work until 8 or 10 p.m. After work, eat dinner with friends or play video games until 10 or 11 p.m. Then go to sleep. The schedule is basically the same for each worker, but flipped for those on the night shift. What do these people think about during their shifts? A 26-year-old girl has spent most of the past 3 years flipping tiny camera lenses with a pair of tweezers. "I don't think much about other things," she says, "because the management is strict and we're busy working and have no time to think about other things." The employees share that the people outside want a job. Ironically, the people inside want to quit. Most workers are between 18 and 25, though interns can be as young as 16. Earnings. As you can imagine, the job doesn't pay well. Base monthly wages for entering workers can start at 1,800 yuan, $265. Employees must rely on overtime to earn more. The pay is so low that the Chinese government does not tax factory workers. After a 45-day probationary period, base salaries may rise to about $390 to $500. Many workers can raise about $676 if they take around 20 hours of overtime a week. Workers willing to take on the night shift can see their monthly salary rise to as much as $785, including overtime. Labor abuses. There's no good Chinese factory without accusations. Since 2007, Foxconn has faced accusations of labor abuses, poor working conditions, and harsh penalties for workers who make mistakes. Workers are often in contact with chemical components that are noxious to the human body. Still, their equipment is reportedly inadequate most of the time. Workers at the factory reportedly work 6 days a week, more than 10 hours daily, without proper training or adequate equipment. Foxconn provides shared dormitory rooms at the factory. You can only imagine living in such conditions. Workers experience broken marriages, stay separated from family, and are compelled to leave their children behind at home. Life is monotonous. Several workers express concern about safety issues and their lack of knowledge of the materials and machinery they come into contact with. New staff members train for about 4 hours on average, while official requirements state that the training should last a minimum of 24 hours. Some employees say that they're not given earplugs until well into their first month, and that workers are given low quality, active carbon face masks to protect against dust, fumes, and small particle chemicals. Supervisors hand out better 3M branded masks only when they expect an inspection. Even then, the high temperatures at the factory make wearing them uncomfortable. Gloves are in short supply too, and some workers report irritated skin on their hands. After a few hours, the gloves swell and get soft, like they've been corroded. The fingers would be exposed, one worker shares. "My hands turned bloodless white after a day of work," shares another worker. "I only tell good things to my family and keep sufferings like this for myself." Employees share their shabby dorms with 4 bunk beds when their intensive workday ends, with many going without washing for days at times. Outside temperatures often fall close to freezing, and the workers keep all windows shut to preserve heat. This creates a humid atmosphere with an odor of sweat, cigarettes, feet, and unwashed clothing mixed freely. Workers in about 20 rooms per floor share one wash space with 14 cold water taps and a big public toilet. Taking a proper bath requires walking to a separate facility. But you better not report on poor working conditions. Workers who did were threatened not to be paid the $2 they're owed for each hour of work. Wages for resigning workers are rarely settled when they quit. The hiring agencies withhold the full salaries if workers insist on leaving. In 2018, when contract workers at Foxconn protested over unpaid bonuses, the government-controlled union did not support them. The inspected facilities violate 14 Apple standards, ranging from failing to communicate the risk of handling hazardous chemicals to forcing probationary workers to pay for uniforms. Apple spokeswoman Lori Lodes denied most of the allegations, but acknowledges Apple did exceed the number of contract workers allowed by Chinese law. Everywhere you look are suicide nets. And everywhere you look, every factory and dormitory, every stairwell and atrium, there are suicide nets. A total of 18 Foxconn employees reportedly took their own lives or tried to. When people started jumping in a cluster, Tim Cook brought a team of psychiatric experts for advice. The best suggestion? Nets on the chance it might save impulsive jumpers. Foxconn also opened a counseling center, and then came the explosions. 2 blasts at 2 different iPad factories injured 77, and 4 died after combustible dust exploded as iPads were being polished. A certain level of the aluminum dust was too high, and this accident happened, employers say. We learned a lot from it, so we've changed a lot of processes. So now if you have a chance to go back and see it, you would not see any human being at all. We replaced the enclosure part with robots. If you're asking what's the cost of the new iPhone 14, it's approximately 4 months of severe labor for one person. Only if the person doesn't spend a dime of it and survives 4 months of living in shacks, with no proper shower, with only the glimmer of hope that their kids won't have to live that way. But what do you think?